You are listening to Brayford Radio. This recording was originally broadcast on the 12th of May 2016. For copyright reasons, this audio has been edited to remove any music being played during the show. We hope you enjoy the recording of Formula Tom, with me Tom Cairns, Jack Murphy and Martin Bulbrook. Good evening and welcome to Brayford Radio. Joining me tonight is the great Jack Murphy and Martin Bulbrook, who are going to be sat alongside me all evening not all evening, over the next hour, talking about our preview for the Spanish Grand Prix that is coming up this weekend. You guys can be involved in the conversation via Twitter, sending in your tweets at Brayford Radio. Alternatively, you can visit the Formula Tom Facebook page to send us any posts or send us any messages you wish you want us to discuss throughout the next hora, which is hour for Spanish. Guys, how are you feeling for the weekend?
It should be a good race. Lots of build-up between what's happening with Verstappen and Kvyat, so it will be an interesting one.
Yeah, definitely going to be a good race, I think. Obviously, what can I say? Mercedes, can they keep up with it? We'll see.
And it'll be Max Verstappen's first race with the senior Red Bull team, let's say. How's he going to fare?
I want him to do really well. I think if he can do it, he can hold that place, and I can see him matching what Ricciardo's been doing, and hopefully maybe aiming for a podium position, which would be good.
Yeah, I think he's going to fare very well. Not sure how he'll fare in the first race, because obviously new car, hasn't really had much time to practice in it. Not sure how he's going to feel in the first race, but certainly throughout the season in that better car, shall I say, than the Toro Rosso, I think you'll certainly see him improve and pick up maybe a podium place this season. And
just remind you guys, the dry compounds that Pirelli will be bringing to Barcelona, slightly different to how the first four races had gone. It's the hard, which is the orange marked tyre, then we've got the white marked medium, and the yellow marked soft tyre that we brought in. Looking at the allocations, Mercedes have gone for the same for Hamilton and Rosberg, with 1 set of hards, 5 sets of mediums and 7 sets of softs. Ferrari have gone a slightly different approach, with Vettel and Raikkonen both going for 1 hard, 4 mediums and 8 softs. Looking at the others as well, how do you think, because they're all going for a very, very aggressive strategy despite Barcelona's natural abrasive surface on the circuit?
So I think it's quite expected that they've all gone for a very attacking set of tyres, because I think this season people are enjoying to overtake, they're enjoying the speed, and obviously the softs are the best for that. That's why we're getting the high selection of softs. But I'm slightly surprised that Mercedes and Ferrari went different routes. Obviously tyre degradation is slightly different on the two cars, but apart from that, I'm not shocked by the tyre choices.
And the drivers are going for like Haas, who tend to be the ones who are going for the very, very aggressive approach. It hasn't always paid off for them, but Grosjean has gone for 2 sets of hards, 3 sets of mediums and 8 sets of softs. But bearing in mind that the 3 tyres that Pirelli choose to bring out the 13 sets that each driver is allowed to have over the course of the weekend, one of those will be nominated for Q3, so it'll be the softest compound to ensure more action out on the track in the final part of qualifying. And the 2 sets that they nominate, at least one of those has to be used by the drivers during the race, providing they finish, of course. And looking at the championship standings, just to remind you, Rosberg is in the lead with 100 points out of a possible 100. Then it's Hamilton with 57, with Raikkonen on 43 in third. Then it's Ricciardo on 36, Vettel 33, Massa 32, with Grosjean a further 10 points back on 22. And it's Kvyat, who's been demoted to Toro Rosso now. He's currently on 21, Bottas 19, and Verstappen, who is promoted to the Red Bull seat at the expense of Kvyat, he's currently 10th with 13. How can Verstappen get his boost his morale? Now he's in the Red Bull seat. Do you see him boosting his points tally very much drastically straight away?
Definitely. I can see him, if he puts a solid performance in on quali, and a solid performance in the racing, keep his nerve, I can see a straight top 5 finish for him and get them points on the board.
Yeah, as Jack said, he's obviously, as we know, the Red Bull is far more superior than the Toro Rosso car in terms of engineering work. The team seems to always be much stronger as a team as it is the older brother team. With the new car, yeah, it might take him a race to get used to it. Hopefully not. Hopefully he comes into it and straight away really performs this weekend. But we'll have to see. But over the season, I can certainly see him. He's going to be picking up more points.
And just going over the other drivers in the standings, hometown hero Fernando Alonso, who has won twice before in Barcelona, he goes into the weekend in 11th. Despite his first points that he scored this season last time out in Russia. He's on 8, and it's Magnussen and Hulkenberg with 6, Carlos Sainz, who's the other hometown hero, with 4, then Perez with 2, with Button and Van Dorn with a point each, leaving Palmer, Ericsson, Verlaine, Nasser, Gutierrez and Harrigato yet to score a point this year. For the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes in the lead, very, very far up front now with 157. And it's Ferrari with 76, Red Bull 57, Williams 51, then it's Haas in 6th with 22, Toro Rosso 17, McLaren 10, Force India 8, Renault with 6, with Sauber and Manor the only teams who have yet to get off the blocks. If you've got any thoughts for the race coming up in Barcelona, or any topic you wish us to discuss, then do please tweet in at Brayford Radio or send us a post via the Facebook or a message, however you prefer, and then we'll mention them later on in the show. Here's your first question of the evening. With it being the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend, how many times has a German driver won in Barcelona? How many times has a German driver won in Barcelona? The answer will be given to you later on. For now though, here is Closing Time by Semisonic. This is Tom Cairns on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio. And that was Closing Time by Semisonic. The question we asked before we left was, how many times has a German driver won in Barcelona? What did you guys go for?
I've gone for 10.
I went for 11.
My mum went for 12, and I can tell you the answer is 8.
Ooh.
8. So Schumacher, like when we spoke whilst Closing Time was on, you said 6, which you were right. Rosberg has won it once, and Vettel has won it once.
Right.
So that makes it 8. Because Schumacher won it in 96, 94, sorry, not 94, 95, 96, 2001, 2002, 2003 and 2004. Vettel won it in 2011 and Rosberg won last year in 2015. And well, you got that right as well. Very, very well done as well. Very, very good. A driver that we will go on to now, who has a lot of promise in his career, not just in Formula 1, and that is the German driver, talking which of Germans, Nico Hulkenberg. How do you fare? How can you compare Nico Hulkenberg with likes of Rosberg and Vettel?
Well, he's not there yet, but he's still got a long way to go still, I believe. If he gets, if he has a good season this season, which is kind of started to have, he's probably the best start to a season other than his retirement in Russia, probably his best start to a season yet. So if he continues to show this improvement over the course of the season, we should have a few teams maybe looking at him for a better driving seat next year.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, he's a German. Germans are big in F1. We know that. Obviously, biggest names: Michael Schumacher, Vettel, Rosberg this season. All great drivers, all German. So I can't see why he wouldn't follow in the footsteps. I don't know what it is. The Germans just seem great at F1. Same at football, but let's not go into that.
Just to give you an insight of Hulkenberg, he made his charting debut at the age of 10. So he made his debut in Formula 1 at the age of 22, so it would have been 1998 when he made his karting debut then. He joined his success before moving up to the German Formula BMW Series in 2005. He dominated that championship and comfortably won the title, following the footsteps of Nico Rosberg and Sebastian Vettel. The following year in 2006, he joined the German A1 Grand Prix team, and almost single-handedly winning Germany the title with 9 victories in his debut season. That's remarkable. And juggling with his... before that, after a year in German Formula 3, he moved across to the Formula 3 Euro Series and finished third behind Romain Grosjean and Sebastian Buemi before taking the title the following year. In December 2007, Hulkenberg tested for Williams, outpacing official driver Kazuki Nakajima and clocking a time only 0.4 seconds slower than Rosberg. His performance impressed Williams enough to offer him a test driver seat for the 2008 championship. I always keep forgetting about A1GP. Did you watch A1GP when it was around?
I didn't watch A1GP, but looking at who's won it and where they are now, Hulkenberg should be able to mimic what Sebastian Vettel and Rosberg have done. So can we see him shoot up in years to come, hopefully?
Yeah, I agree. I also didn't watch A1GP, but as Jack said, the previous winners, they're doing great at the minute. Hulkenberg's previous winner, so it's just going to be when his season's going to become.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Just go further on about Hulkenberg. Juggling with his commitments with Williams, Hulkenberg moved on to the GP2 Asia Series over the winter, taking pole in his first race and finishing 6th in the championship despite only competing in 4 races. The following season he progressed to the GP2 Series for 2010, where he wrapped up the championship at the penultimate round in Monza, the first time the series had been won before the final round. In November 2009, Williams announced that Nico Hulkenberg would partner alongside veteran Rubens Barrichello for 2010. In his first season, he got pole position in, an unexpected pole position in Brazil. Did that sort of show that he had what it took to compete, despite driving in a very sort of in between, sort of average car, let's say, in Williams?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, pole position on its own, no matter what car you're in, still is an incredible achievement. And to get it in, because that was not the best car on the grid, that's for sure, and to get pole position from that is a fantastic achievement, and certainly showed that the reason why he should be in F1.
Definitely, 100% agree. He showed in his rookie season as well, which not many drivers perform the best in their rookie seasons. They usually take a year to settle into their cars, to get used to the tracks, because sometimes they haven't even driven on these tracks before, so it's all new to him. And for Nico Hulkenberg to get that pole shows what he has to come in the future.
And then, despite a successful 2010 campaign for Hulkenberg with points finishes on a regular outings, Williams team dropped Hulkenberg at the end of the season for the very well-funded Pastor Maldonado for 2011. And with that demise, he was confirmed as Force India's test driver for that year, before replacing compatriot Adrian Sutil for the following year in 2012. He got another shot, didn't he?
Yep, definitely. He was partnering up with Paul di Resta, and fair play to him. He didn't make the best start under Force India, but he showed that he's willing to sacrifice certain things to have his racing seat, and that shows commitment basically to the sport, which is fair play to him.
Because you got even though with 6th or 7th place finishes, there were times they qualified reasonably well. He got Q3 on a lot of occasions. I'd say at least 10 races out of 20, so half of the races, let's say, that he was able to compete in a very well competitive Force India car. And despite rumours that he would be moving to Ferrari the following year to replace Felipe Massa, he eventually switched to Sauber on a 1-year deal. Did that shock you when you confirmed?
Yes, because I still think he's very closely tied to Ferrari. I think I can see him driving a Ferrari in the future. Whether it will be or not, I'm not sure. But to Sauber from Force India, it's not the biggest move, and it was a shock at the time.
Well, because taking into consideration about because Sauber that year they got 4 podium finishes. In fact, Perez got 3 of those, and Kobayashi got the other one as well, which is probably partly the reason why he wanted to go really. And 2013, first half of the year didn't really go to plan, did it?
No, it didn't. It certainly wasn't a good start to the year for him. Yeah, he had a few problems, but yeah, I'm really not sure of just what happened that season. It just was not a great start at all.
No, yeah, because he didn't get the podiums that they were getting for Sauber last year, and that's what they wanted. He got 4th in career.
Yeah, he did.
So that was the best he'd done at Sauber at the time, and just it didn't come good for him during the season.
Don't forget to mention he got a top 3 qualifying position in Monza as well, the fastest circuit of the year. So, but that Sauber at the time that had really good traction though, didn't it, out of the corners, which was the reason why Hülkenberg got that 4th place finish.
Yeah, definitely. The car was built around the corners. It was, compared to the other cars on the track, the straight line speed of the Sauber wasn't the greatest, but they focused on as you said, the traction coming out of the corners, and that's where they decreased their times, and that's why that Sauber was so good.
Yeah, obviously, I'd personally say the Sauber was probably the best on the corners that season. It was phenomenal on the corners, and I'm not quite sure Hülkenberg just could not get it to work. I'm not sure why. It was a poor season for him, and I think he knew that it's a poor season, but before that, obviously, he showed promise that he's a good driver, and certainly after that, he showed promise that he's still a good driver.
And once more, Hülkenberg was rumoured to be Felipe Massa's replacement for 2014 before Kimi Räikkönen was confirmed as Massa's replacement. And despite that, in December 2013, Hülkenberg was confirmed to be back at Force India to race alongside Sergio Perez. A good year again for Hülkenberg. He was a regular points finisher that year, but he seems to have, very much got into the groove of racing alongside the big guns at times. Maybe not necessarily Mercedes, because Mercedes were in a league of their own that year, but the likes of Red Bull and Williams, etc.
Yeah, certainly that season he got a lot of race experience racing amongst the big name drivers, getting up there, fighting with them, doing the overtaking. He weren't scared of them, didn't give them the look, they're the big guys, I don't want to go near them. He went in it confident, looked confident, and he's becoming a big name driver himself.
And Hülkenberg recorded 10 consecutive points finishes that year, which was the first 10 races before his first non-finish in Hungary. And though his form tailed off slightly as Force India's development slowed down and its rivals caught up, the German was one of the standout drivers of the season. He was still without a maiden podium, but that is surely set to change with driver weight less of a consideration in 2015. He still hasn't got the podium finish yet, but surely his time has got to come, really.
I see it coming soon. If it's not this season, I definitely see a big time move soon to a big car seat soon for him, and he'll get it then. So he's definitely got the talent. He can definitely mimic the achievements of the other German drivers that have come into Formula One. Will it be as big as as the other drivers? It's too early to tell for him, but we all want to see it happen because he is a very, very good driver.
Yeah, I think it's more of a matter of the car he's in more than him driving, because I think he's got the capability as it stands at the minute to be up there on the podium. I think it's when he gets the perfect car for him, which he feels perfectly comfortable in, it's right up there with the top cars, I think that is when you'll see him start picking up podium after podium.
Nando Hulkenberg was beaten by Perez in 2015. He managed to win the 24-hour Le Mans that year with Porsche, which was the standout point for Hulkenberg, which influenced him to pursue his career there, but he decided to remain committed to F1 and signed again for the Force India team in 2016. And so far this year, Hulkenberg has been qualifying very, very well. 10th in Australia, 8th in Bahrain, 10th in China, and 13th in Russia. And in the races, 7th in Australia, 15th in Bahrain, 15th in China, despite setting the fastest lap. And Russia, like you said, Jack, earlier, he crashed out on the first lap of the race. And if you guys have any thoughts on Hulkenberg or anything you want us to cover anything that we've covered so far, then do please tweet in at Brayford Radio or send us a message or a post via the Facebook page of Formula Tom, and we'll discuss your views right after Chelsea Dagger by the Vitalis. This is Tom Cairns on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio. And that was Chelsea Dagger by the Vitalis. Apologies because we forgot to ask you the question before the song, but at least you got a little bit more time to answer this one. How many Spanish drivers since 1999 have competed in F1? Can you name all of them? I'll repeat the question again. How many Spanish drivers since 1999 have competed in F1, and can you name all of them? The answer will be given later on before the next song, okay? So you've got a little bit more time to think about the question, the answer that you're going to give us later on. And talking with your questions, guys, we've got a tweet in from @DrophyGem, and he's saying, should F1 cars have less downforce to help promote overtaking?
We always like to see more overtaking, so why not? I 100% agree. I understand why they have the amount of downforce they have on the cars, clearly because they don't want the cars taking off from the track. But we always want to see more overtaking.
Yeah, I'd agree. Obviously, if you have less downforce, that means then coming into a corner, you come much closer going out of the corner, which is realistically where we see most overtaking happen. So I think if that happened, you would see a lot more overtaking, especially coming out of the corners.
And just remind you, if you want us to read out any tweets you wish us to cover, then do please tweet in at Brayford Radio or send in your posts or messages via the Facebook page of Formula Tom. It's that time in the show, guys. What is it?
Badger GP!
It is. Yes, the Badger GP. What do you think about this weekend?
I want to say that Rosberg's gonna win, but I'm not sure if he can make it 5 races in a row. I'm really not sure. So I haven't made my predictions this week. I've thought about them, but I'm just so undecided this week what's actually going to happen. I haven't made them yet.
So last week, if you listened into the show, I predicted a crazy weekend where Hamilton spins out on the first corner. I've done an absolute U-turn, and it might just come down to Rosberg, Hamilton, and Vettel. I think it might just be a non-eventful race, maybe.
With my predictions, the only thing I changed this week was the guy to set the fastest lap. I initially put Ricciardo, but I've gone for his new teammate Verstappen because I feel like he's going to very, very much shine. I think I've gone for Rosberg, Vettel, Hamilton this weekend. Rosberg to get pole, Verstappen to get fastest lap, the first driver to retire. I put Palmer, and I don't think there's going to be any safety cars. To give you a little tip about safety cars, there have only been 4 races in Barcelona that have featured a safety car. One of those have had 2. So what are you thinking safety cars wise?
I said 2 last week, but as I said, I've done a big U-turn on my predictions. I'll go for 0, especially with the weather, what's looking like. If I believe all the previous safety cars have been in torrential downpours in Spain, I think. So if it's sunny, I don't expect a safety car.
I think I'm going to go for 1, just for the pure fact that this season has been quite unpredictable. With obviously last Grand Prix we have Kvyat bumping into a couple of cars and etc. So I think there might just be a moment lapse of concentration or something to cause it might not even be a big accident, just an accident where quite a lot of debris is given off, and then that will then bring out the safety car.
And I'm looking at the standings at the moment from Russia. I don't need to mention the results from Russia, but I've mentioned the championship standings before Spain. Honey Badger GP, despite only competing in 2 races so far, it's on 324 points. 102 points further ahead of him is Red Bull Dog GP of 426, and it's Team Jedi with 430, Team Martin 473 in 4th, and it's Meekans Racing with 480, then it's Delta F1 with 500, and in the league with 611 is Mark's Mercedes GP, who he seems to be running away with it, but what can we do to catch him?
Let's hope he slips up on one of these races, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah, or you never know. He might miss a week or something.
He might forget to post predictions.
Yeah, we'll get extremely good results. You never know.
Just make sure we don't advertise it too much to him.
Yeah.
Looking at Barcelona, the Barcelona racetrack, the Circuit de Catalunya, if you prefer to call it, there are 2 DRS zones for the Spanish race. The first of which, the detection point is in between turns 8 and 9, with the DRS zone, zone 1, is in the back straight in between turns 9 and 10. The second DRS zone, the detection point for that is on the exit of turn 15 before the start-finish straight after turn 16. Do you agree that the DRS zones should be where they are?
Yeah, on the straights, we like, especially the pit straight. Turn 1 is probably the biggest corner for overtaking on this track, so we want to see as much overtaking as we can on a track which isn't the most overtaking, the one that leads to the most overtaking, purely because of the long corners where they still remain at very high speeds along these corners. So yeah, I agree with where they are at on the track.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Obviously, the pit straight is a very long straight on this circuit. There has to be the DRS zone down there. That's obvious. Including the second one as well, I think that's a very good idea, because that is quite a long straight between corner 9 and 10. I think the DRS zone is really good in that corner, because there's quite sharp braking at the end of that as well. Mm-hmm. So you can see some late braking, some overtakes around the outside there. So I think that really helps to encourage overtaking in this race.
And just to mind you of the race in Barcelona, well, the first Grand Prix was held back in 1991, so it'll be the 26th running of the Spanish Grand Prix in Barcelona. There are 66 laps, so the highest number of race laps so far this year. With the circuit length is 4.6 kilometres, with the race distance of 307 kilometres, because every race apart from Monaco has to last at least 305. The lap record for the race, in case you want to think about what the lap time is, it was set by Kimi Räikkönen in 2008 with a 1 minute 21.67. Do you think they can break that?
I think so. Definitely with the lot of last race in Russia, Rosberg destroyed the previous record by a few milliseconds. So that was so yeah, definitely. I definitely think it can be broken.
Yeah, I think this season the cars are going incredibly fast, and I think this season we could see quite a few lap records break throughout the race calendar year.
And just remind you of the times for Spain this weekend. The first practice session gets underway at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, with the second session on at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you're having your Friday fish and chips, for example, then you can at least put the time down for the diary in your diary then. The third practice session 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, with qualifying on 3 hours after that at 1, with the race 24 hours after then at 1 o'clock. on Sunday. So it's a normal lunchtime race start. And if you guys if you've got any predictions or results you think that are going to happen in Spain this weekend, then do send them via the Twitter. Do send your tweets in, I should say, via Twitter at Brayford Radio, or message or post via the Facebook page of Formula Tom. And also, if you like to join the Badger GP League of Formula Tom that we've been discussing our predictions and our pit walls in previous shows, then the passcode to join is 5872114. The passcode is 5872114. If you're unsure how to join, then do please message us and we'll help you as much as we can to get you to join us. It'll be very, very good. And the question we asked as well it's not normal that we give answers at this time of the show. The question we asked was how many Spanish drivers since 1999 had competed in F1, and can you name all of them?
So me and Martin had a little bit of a discussion while the song was being playing for this one. We can name the two that are on the grid this year, which is Alonso and Carlos Sainz, but other than that we can't think of any other Spanish drivers.
My dad messaged me and he said 6, but he didn't give me any names.
Is that a complete guess?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's more educated guess.
I can say the answer is 6. So very, very well done to Mr. Bulbrook himself. Not you, that's I can name you the drivers. We've got Marcinet, Pedro de la Rosa, Fernando Alonso, Jaime Alguersuari, Carlos Sainz and Roberto Merri. So those are the 6 Spanish drivers who have competed in F1 since the last year of the old millennium. And our final question that we'll ask you now, maybe more of a simple one, if you want to put it that way. What gear was Michael Schumacher stuck in during the Spanish GP in 1994 before finishing? The question again, what gear was Michael Schumacher stuck in during the Spanish Grand Prix in 1994 before finishing? The answer will be given after Everybody by Backstreet Boys. This is Tom Kennens on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio. And that was Everybody by the Backstreet Boys. The question we asked was in which gear was Michael Schumacher stuck in during the Spanish Grand Prix in 1994 before finishing? What did you guys go for?
5th gear.
I went for 5th gear. My dad also messaged in and he also went for 5th gear.
My dad tweeted in and said 5th gear as well. My mum went for 3rd, okay, because she's someone who always doesn't like going for the same answers as others would do. She's always someone who goes for her own route, but I think she might regret that because I can say the answer is 5th gear. So very well done to you two, Mr. Bulbrook and Mr. Cairns.
My mum also guessed 5th gear as well, so very good.
Tell her I said that as well. We got some tweets in, guys, messages I'd say, from Sue Glover, and she said, do you think Hamilton will retain his World Championship?
It's a bit early to tell yet. There's a long way to go, but if Rosberg keeps doing what he's doing at the minute, I am backing Rosberg for the title at the minute.
Yeah, obviously Hamilton hasn't had the best start to this campaign, and Rosberg has been unstoppable really, and I just can't see Rosberg faulting at the minute, and I don't think Hamilton will retain it this year.
I think it's going to take a miracle for Hamilton to do it, to be honest, because no driver has ever lost the championship after winning the first 4 races of the season. So if Hamilton wants to sort of break that record, he's going to have to pull something out of the bag, really.
That's what he does. He likes to be a little bit of a record breaker, so maybe we might see it.
And we've got a question from my mum actually, and she said, do you think anyone will beat Michael Schumacher's record of 6 wins in a Spanish GP? If so, who?
Personally, I don't think so. It's a phenomenal record. Michael Schumacher hits so many records, it's untrue, and I think that's one of his records which won't get beaten.
Yeah, it's very hard to tell with like the future of F1, but at the minute, Michael Schumacher, I don't see it being beaten anytime soon.
No, I think because Michael Schumacher is he's someone different in comparison to those who are currently racing today. 6 wins. I mean, drivers might end up with 3 or 4, because I know Hamilton's won once, Rosberg was won once, Vettel's won once, but I don't see anybody breaking it, to be honest. And well, because bearing in mind, the Spanish Grand Prix has not just been held in Barcelona, it's also been held in Jarama 9 times and Jerez 5 times before moving to the Circuit de Catalunya in 1991. Let's move on, guys. Away from Formula 1, we'd like to have a look at the sort of lower ranks that begins this weekend, the GP2 and the GP3. Looking at the lineups at the moment, who are you thinking is going to be the sort of standout drivers for this year?
Alex Lynn for Dams, developmental driver for Williams, and I definitely tip him to be a future star of F1, so I definitely say watch out for him next year, or this year.
I personally ain't a massive follower, but I know that ART are always up there, so any of the 2 drivers who drive for them, they could have a fantastic season. So yeah, I'd say a driver from ART. Not sure which one, both good drivers, so we'll have to see.
Not to forget about Sergei Sorokin, who did an outing for Renault in the last time out in Russia in his home race. He's also racing alongside Nobuharu Morishita, if that's pronounced correctly, for ART this year. But I think, because ART, they've been in GP2 and GP3 for a very, very long time. Would you say that they're the favourites for this year with the lineups? Because Matsushita, the Japanese driver, he's been very, very good last year, so I could definitely see him in the mix this year as well.
Definitely, I see it being between ART and Dams, I think, this year. I'm a big fan of Alex Lynn, so I want him to do well, but ART are always up there. It will probably come down to between the ART drivers.
Not to forget to mention about former GP3 champion Mitch Evans, who is very, very much impressed in the years in GP2. Driving for Campus Racing, can we see him maybe being in the mix, or is it going to be too difficult for Mitch Evans?
Yeah, well, he obviously former GP3 champion. He's proved that on the big stage that he's a good driver. If he can transfer that across to GP2, waits to be seen. But I can't see why he can't, because he's obviously got the background to do it. So we'll have to wait and see.
And looking at GP3 as well, the notable ones are Santino Ferrucci, who on one of the shows that we did, we mentioned he's part of Haas's development driver program. So he's driving for Dams this year. So if you are watching GP3, do make sure you look out for him, because you never know how he might do. And also one who's also notable is Nick De Vries, who some may know him from one of the episodes of the McLaren animation series of Tuned. So if you haven't watched that episode involving Nick De Vries, do feel free to check it out on YouTube. It's a good episode. And also Antonio Frucco, who was one of the sort of front runners last year that didn't win it. But if you do win the series, you can't compete anymore in that in the future. But who do you think is going to be the standout ones in there in GP3?
I like the look of Alex Ploux for Campus Racing. Last year he got a few wins on, especially the second races that they do. Alex Ploux got a few wins, so maybe he can continue that form and maybe challenge for the title this year.
I think Santino Ferrucci. That's how you say it.
He's American, by the way, I'll tell you.
I think he's going to have a great season. Obviously, he's in Haas's development program, as we have spoke about before. And obviously, Haas's development program, we said, was a really good thing to come out of F1 for them to implement. And I think he could really go on and prove himself this season in GP3.
And I've just pinpointed actually Trident, if that's how it's pronounced, Giuliano Alesi, who very, very much looks like he's the son really of Jean Alesi. Really, could he maybe prove to everyone that he has the sort of magic touch like his dad had?
We'd like to hope for him. Hopefully, he has a good drive for Trident this season. and along with the other drivers of Trident, because Trident's always been quite competitive in GP3, so we'd like to see them have a good season again this time round again.
Yeah, I'd agree. Obviously, his dad, phenomenal driver. Yeah, we love to see former champions, younger generations come through. We love to see it. It often works, so I can't see why he'd be any other different to any other big name driver.
And unlike last year, GP3 teams can now have 4 drivers in their squad. Unlike last year, they had 3, but with the team's demise, I think 2 teams left last year, or one of the teams. There are now only 7 teams, which is why the FIA, I think, have decided to allow them to have that extra driver, so that could make races more interesting, really, in GP3.
Well, yeah, they were looking to do it in Formula 1, maybe teams to drop out and make third drivers for each team to keep the amount of cars on the grid the same. So it probably it makes the pack more in the pack, and there'll be more overtaking. So it's always a good idea to put more drivers on the track.
And comparing the pace of the GP3 cars, do you think they need DRS?
No, I don't think so. The use of DRS is especially in F1, it's frowned upon, because even though it promotes overtaking, people think that it's just unneeded. They should go on their own talents for the drivers, and that's what, especially in the developmental like GP3, that's what they need to prove, that they've got the talent on their own.
Yeah, I also think that they don't need it because there is already plenty of overtaking going on. They don't need anything extra like the DRS to help overtake, because they're not struggling to overtake. They're young drivers, they want a race, they want to overtake. They're not scared at all, they just overtake. And you see a lot more overtaking than you would in an F1 car, so the DRS isn't needed.
And Ryan, just quickly go over the calendars for GP2 and GP3 this year. In GP2, Barcelona this weekend, Monaco 2 weeks after that. Most of the races that GP2 and GP3 do, mainly during the Formula 1 races. In fact, all of them are, actually. It's Baku in Azerbaijan, then Austria, Silverstone, Hungary, Germany, Spa, Monza, Sepang, and the Yas Marina circuit. For GP3, Spain, Austria, Silverstone, Hungary, Germany, Belgium, Italy, Malaysia, and Abu Dhabi. And unfortunately, guys, that is the end of the show. I can't believe it's gone very, very quick. Thank you for listening and sending your tweets and answers tonight. We're back on again next week, where me, Jack, and Martin will be reviewing the race from Spain. From me and the team, have a great week, and we'll talk to you again next time. This is Tom Cairns on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio.